Have you ever noticed something frustrating? You're working, you're trying, you're improving in ways your past self would respect, and yet you still feel behind. Not tired, behind. As if life is moving forward without you. As if everyone else got a memo you missed. This feeling is so common that people assume it must mean something is wrong with them. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of the time, feeling behind has nothing to do with your actual progress. It comes from how your mind has been trained to measure life. For most of human history, comparison was limited. You compared yourself to people in your village, your family, a small social circle. Progress was local, slow, visible. Today, comparison is global and constant. Every time you open a screen, you're exposed to thousands of lives compressed into highlights. Careers at their peak. Bodies at their best angle. Success without context. Confidence without the years of confusion that came before it. Your brain doesn't register this as content. It registers it as competition. And this is where the illusion begins. When you compare your real, unfinished life to someone else's edited outcome, your present starts to feel invalid. Even when you're moving forward, it feels late. Even when you're growing, it feels slow. Not because it is, but because the reference point is distorted. You're not behind reality. You're behind a fantasy timeline that doesn't exist. And the mind is terrible at noticing this. Psychologically, comparison does something subtle and dangerous. It collapses time. You stop seeing progress as a process and start seeing it as a race. You don't ask, am I learning? You ask, why am I not there yet? But there is undefined. There's always someone younger, faster, richer, louder. And because there's no finish line, your effort never feels complete. This is why people feel exhausted without doing too much. They're not tired from work. They're tired from constant self-measurement. Every action is silently evaluated. Every choice is questioned. Every pause feels like falling behind. Even rest starts to feel guilty. And here's the part nobody likes to hear. This feeling doesn't go away when you achieve more. In fact, for many people, it gets worse. Because the more you improve, the higher the comparison bar moves. You don't arrive at peace, you arrive at a new standard. That's why some of the most outwardly successful people still feel chronically behind. Their life looks impressive, but their inner clock is always ticking. They're chasing a sense of enough that comparison will never allow. Comparison is never satisfied. It doesn't care about effort. It doesn't reward consistency. It doesn't acknowledge context. It only asks one question. Who is ahead right now? And that question quietly destroys joy. Because the moment progress becomes relative, it stops feeling real. Your brain stops registering growth and starts scanning for gaps. You begin to live in anticipation instead of presence. Always preparing, always catching up, never arriving. This is why people feel like life is passing them by, even when they're reactively building it. So what actually changes this? Not confidence, not motivation, not believing in yourself. What changes, it is changing the frame. The moment you stop measuring your life sideways and start measuring it forward, time behaves differently. Forward comparison asks better questions. Am I clearer than I was a year ago? Am I less confused than before? Do I handle things now that once overwhelmed me? These changes don't trend online. They don't impress strangers. But they are real. Real progress feels quiet. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand validation. It accumulates. The problem is, modern life trains you to ignore this kind of progress because it can't be displayed easily, so you discount it. You assume that because your growth isn't visible, it must not be significant. But the deepest changes rarely are. Clarity doesn't look dramatic. Emotional maturity doesn't look flashy. Self-understanding doesn't look impressive. Yet these are the things that actually change the direction of a life. Feeling behind isn't a signal that you're failing. It's often a signal that you're comparing from the wrong angle. You're judging a process by an outcome. You're measuring becoming against a rival. And no one ever feels on time when they do that. The goal isn't to stop noticing others completely. It's unrealistic. The goal is to stop letting comparison define your sense of time. Your life isn't late. It's unfolding. And the moment you stop racing, imagine timelines. Progress starts to feel like progress again. Not urgent, not performative. just real.